Today, I'm going to show you guys my K9 for Genesys, and it is an insanely powerful deck. It almost feels like you're playing Modern in Genesys format. Now, I want you guys to keep an open mind. A lot of people say, oh, you're playing over 100 points. I'm not. And here's the entire list. Here's the deck list, all 100 points dedicated towards Engine, and that's because the points list adjustment forced it that way with the additional points thrown into the extra with the Werewolf and also the Nash Knight. And also everything in the main deck also kind of went up in price. So here it is. We have 3 copies of the Lantern. We have 1 copy of Noroi, Izuna, and Joko. That's 50 points alone, and the additional 10 points is coming from 2 Lupus. People are going to be playing DD Crow. You're going to get Crow no matter what. Your ideal playstyle with the Lupus is that you summon it out with the Noroi. Once you get that Noroi summon, or you summon it with Joko, whatever it is, your opponent will think that you only run 1 copy. So the copy of Izuna in your hand, they'll feel very safe to let it land, and when it lands, okay, you can punish them that way, and that's what you have to do, because everyone is throwing DD Crows at you. You need to follow up just so that your Izuna is live, and that interaction with Izuna is very, very important. Then we're playing 2 copies of Regulus, 3 copies of Cosmo Dark Lady. Look, this is a format that isn't dedicated towards 15 to 20 hand traps. At least now that Vanquish Soul is gone, it's a little bit easier to play. So even if it's just a single monster negation, it adds a lot. And if you layer it with Izuna, this, and a Regulus, that's 3 negates on its own, and it's pretty good. Now, you guys might be wondering, what about the consistency of the deck? Look, I'll skip ahead right now, but it's 12 copies of consistency. You got 3 7 Tachyon, 3 Small World, and 3 copies of Chaotic Elements, and 3 copies of a Case for K9. That's 12 cards just dedicated to search anything in your K9 lineup. So it feels like you're running 20 K9 cards when you're really not, and it's kind of like a pick and choose. So it doesn't feel too bad. And therefore, when you have the Dark Lady, you can quite easily pair it with Joko. And Joko and Dark Lady paired together is the optimal opening. There's not much people can do unless they're playing like Impulse, which a lot of people in Genesys are not. So that makes it a lot easier. And now that you have it, for our extra deck, we have a K9 package of 5 cards, every single name, and double up on the Jacks. So 1 Ripper, 1 Hound, 2 Jacks, and 1 of the Werewolf. The Trap card is why we can play a bigger package so that they can just directly get their effects, or you can just cheat out the Werewolf. So when your opponent activates something, you get that hand rip right away, and you can set it up before the main phase, so you always get the rip before the first card, forcing them to set cards along the way. And even if they set cards, guess what? You can just go force release and pop that set card too. So everything is not really in their favor when it comes to that interaction. Then there's the Nash Knight package. We play Nash Knight, Chaos Nash Knight, of course, and then we have 104, Chaos 104, Chaos 106, and Chaos 107. That's for your Nash Knight and your 7th Tachyon package. You can convert 7th Tachyon into a board breaker by going into the Kaiju, or you can use it to reveal 106 to dig for your Noroi so you get your opening play. So the cards are more flexible. That's kind of the whole point with the traps and the 7th Tachyon. As for the remainder of the package, we have 1 River Stormer to dig for your Regulus. It can technically fetch for your Noroi, but I don't know if you're going to go in that direction. But sometimes you can, okay? It's an option. And then there's Imperial Princess Quinquere to revive back. Either you Mjolnir lock your opponent, or you're summoning back something that is more useful. And I think you just have to play that card. That card's really, really strong. It's essentially like, what's a card? Sprite Elf for rank 5s. And then there is, of course, Valen. That's just a really good card. And our final card is going to be Utopic Zexal Future, because you can turn 2 of your useless rank 5s, you just overlay them together and make this disruptor that steals opponent's cards. And additional disruption that takes opponent's cards that cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. You know what? It's free. We're going to play it. And as for the side deck, we have 3 Lava Golems, 3 Skullmeisters, 3 copies of Dark Ruler no more. These don't cost any points. 3 Cosmic Cyclones. You can switch it for Twin Twisters. And then just more counter traps. That's Xyz Block and the additional 2 copies of Xyz Unbreakable Barrier. That's it. Let's take a look at some of these games. For our first game here, we have K9 versus Onomat. I mean, Onomat was one of the top tier options of the previous Genesys format. It did receive a lot of tops as well. So starting off with, this is going to have Noroi in the opening hand. This is insane because you can see the opening combo. There's a slight alteration I would do to this particular combo, but yeah, start with Noroi into Joko, Joko into Ripper. Ripper, instead of adding Izuna, Ripper adds Izuna if you already played Case for K9, but I think I played too many games. I just kind of auto-plated, just click buttons, but you should go for Case for K9 so you can get the additional hand check. So at this point, go for Lantern. Lantern revive the Noroi, and then Lantern adds the Force Release into hand, and then make River Stormer detach specifically Noroi so that your Regulus has something to attach and target, and then you can set 3 cards and pass. So I open with a bunch of trap cards, which for a going first option, definitely not breaking. Going second, it's going to be a lot harder. That small word would require me to top deck something good so I can crack some parts of the board first, and the Crow probably would have been useful to take out perhaps some of the automat pieces. But we have hand and Graveyard negation, Omni negation, we have Omni pop, and we have, I guess, a monster pop attached here as well. So there's multiple things. Or it can turn directly into a werewolf, so you can get hand rip, and this is going to deal with the battle phase. So let's see how our opponent plays it out. They have a lot of engine. They have so much gas going on. Starting with the Sage, they're trying to get their Gambara Knight. We're not going to allow it, so we're going to keep on layering our disruption. So we went from one to the next. So once we used the Regulus, the Noroi fell into the graveyard. Then the werewolf got summoned onto the field because we get to revive the Noroi, and they get their Gambara Knight summoned. Then they went for Exciting Knight, and I do control more cards than my opponent, and that's why layering your interruptions is so important. That's going to cause my board to get completely nuked. However, not before I hand rip them first, and then also keep one of my monsters alive. We play Hound for this particular reason of getting bored. When people are playing Dark Holes and Raigekis, we don't want to get stunned here. Luckily, Hound is going to be indestructible by battle or card effect at the turn in special summon, so this is going to stay alive, and it will keep boosting its attack and provide with a standby phase removal. So looking into what they're continuing to get, they get their paras, they're getting more and more engine. Dododo Warrior got successfully summoned, and then they threw a Dododo Dwarf into the graveyard, and then that gets DD Crowed. However, they're not done. They have the Kage in the graveyard, the Lizard comes out, they play Heroic Call, summoning another Warrior out of the graveyard. Now they go into Sage. I'm like, wow, this is looking a little dicey. Izuna, that's why we added Izuna into hand, so that we have a additional disruption, putting the Lupus into the graveyard. With the Lupus in the graveyard, we can summon the Lupus back onto the field, and that's going to turn into a beautiful Nash Knight. Nash Knight is going to use the suction effect, taking away the monster, and that is essentially game. You might be wondering, how is this game? You don't have enough damage to finish him off, and I'm going to be like, yeah, no, I do. Like, Small War can definitely draw into another monster, but even if Small War doesn't draw into a monster, Standby Phase Hound is going to banish the Onomatokage, and then the Nash Knight will turn into C107, giving me 4,500, 4,500. That is enough for game. That's 9,000. Game number 2, we're going to be playing against Xyz Sharks. This is the exact opposite of K9 because they allocate all their points into the non-engine. In fact, their entire deck is more or less free. And you're going to love the stuff that they're going to be able to build. In fact, I think they're like the most underrated deck. So I won game 1, so this is a bit of a sided game I want to showcase. But they sided in D-Fissure, and man, that card, I can't believe they have the ability to play that. I wish I had the option to play it as well. I think I can as long as I go first. But it's kind of like a win more secure, like playing counter traps. But they started off with the Big Jaws, going to Xyz Armored Fortress, that giving them the double search. The double search giving him the Armored Shark, because this is always an Armored Xyz card. And they also got their hands on the Equip spell. So they want to detach all the material, otherwise you can't use this Xyz material. So they go into Hydro Shark. Hydro Shark dumps into the graveyard Xyz Unbreakable Barrier. They go into Crystal Lancer 0, and they get into Full Armor Dark Lancer. Well, with the Dark Lancer played onto the field, they get to add back the Unbreakable Xyz Barrier. So we're dealing with one Omni Negate already, a searched Omni Negate, and they go for Surfing Jaws into the Virtue Dragon. The Virtue Dragon adds the Virtue Stream with the remaining monster. They go for Stealth Kraken. So if you look at what they have available on their board, so they equip this onto the Stealth Kraken, so Stealth Kraken cannot get destroyed by battle. This is looking pretty dicey. So what we're looking at right now is La Virtue with the Virtue Stream. They have the Counter Trap. They have Unbreakable Monsters with additional pop. So they have Pop, Double Pop, Absorption, I believe. Actually, no, they don't have Suction. They have no Suction in the graveyard because they do not have Armor Xyz in the graveyard. But they have Unbreakable Xyz Barrier. So they have Pop, Double Pop, Counter Trap, and I don't even know what that does, but moving on, let's keep going. So I have started off with a Lava Golem because I already sided. I took care of one of the biggest problems, and then we're going to continue on with the 7 Tachyon. This is forcing the Unbreakable Xyz Barrier to play because eating a Kaiju at this point would probably mean that he would lose, and he needs to keep this monster alive to keep the other traps alive. So I go for Case for K9, I go for Joko. I can't normal summon because I gave him the Lava Golem, so that's why even with 2 monsters, I'm not bothering with that particular line. And there's no point going to Izuna because he's not activating anything from hand. Going for Joko play, I have no choice. I have to go for Joko or into Lantern. I know that there's a Virtue Stream. I don't think there's anything I can really do here, but I have to kind of remove his monster because I don't want to lose next turn. Going for the Therian this Colosseum, going for the Regulus added to hand, and I have no further play because everything got banished. It would have been okay if this wasn't there, so I can revive Joko, get my Surge, rebuild the board, and counter OTK. But it's a difference of 1 card that I'm going to be taking the L here. They draw into full armor exceeds. Lava Golem burns from 1000. Hydro Shark lets him add Aqua Jet. I think he activated the Virtue Stream. Target 1 face of monster, and if it's water, can't be destroyed. I don't know what he's doing with this one, but I'm guessing he's just bloating the field. Going with the Abyss Shark, Aqua Jet to revive another monster. Summon a Buzzsaw Shark. Buzzsaw Shark targets the Abyss Shark, getting Crystal Shark, overlaying the 2 into Rachna 0. And then going to Big Surfacing Jaws. That's more than 8,000 damage, and I'm here taking 8,000 to the face. You know what? You win some, you lose some, and they have the proper tech, and they did the correct thing to stop me from winning. And for our last showcase game here, we have K9 versus Tistina. I was actually very surprised by this Tistina deck because it was a lot better than I thought. I also got OTK'd by it accidentally because I forgot that they can attack directly. And then they can make Gustav Max to shoot me in the face. So we got ourselves Joko and Lantern as the opening start. We have Chaotic Elements. We already have the LC Liberation or LC Release, so it's fine. We use this to land into Noroi. Noroi summons out Lupus. Using the Lupus and the Joko, we make Ripper so that we don't get hit by Effect Veiler, and we can get our maximum surge going to Izuna, and we go into River Storm. River Storm detaching Noroi, getting the Regulus. Regulus can now summon out. Now we have Hand, Negate, and Field, and we set our cards. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have Compulse. This is the thing I mentioned that I was testing as well. Compulse is pretty decent. We have the Release right here. The special release experiment so that we can turn it into a werewolf. We have the regular release so they can convert any of our rank 5s into something else, or K9, and we have an Omnigate. So we have, well, 1 control. This is definitely control. This can turn into a pop. This is Hand Rip. This is a Negate, and we have 1 bounce, and we have Crow and Izuna. So we have about 6-7 disruption. This is the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh we're playing with. We're kind of forcing them to play into Modern, and we start off with the werewolf. They're gonna go with Gorgon Slicer instead. I'm like, okay, well, you're activating something. I'm going to chain, I'm going to rip your hand. Seeing that they have this card here, the Soul Exchange, I'm more worried that he's going to resolve that and rip my entire board apart, and it would really suck. It just feels like you get hit by like a Sphere Mode. Honestly, it's Sphere Mode dot spell. So the more they keep on putting out monsters, the whole goal here is that I want to keep on bouncing away all of the Tistina, because most Tistinas can special summon as long as they control a light Tistina on the field, so I'm not allowing that to happen. And I get my whole board Book of Eclipse. That part really sucks. Therefore, they start off with the Sentinel adding the Demigod, and that's going to be with the Izuna. Izuna is now going to activate, dumping the Lupus into the graveyard. Lupus affects them back onto the field, overlay the 2 into a Nash Knight, and then we're going to attempt to absorb it. We absorbed it, but they have continued follow-up. They have played the Tistina. They're going to keep on trying to just generate more and more Tistina monsters, but luckily I have one way to remove this. I don't want them to be able to generate more and more cards, so we play the Release Restraint onto that, turning into Jax. Jax is now going to be able to pop the Crystal God, and that ends the entire turn, and that actually takes the entire game, because at the end phase, of course, all of these are going to flip face up, and I'm going to draw 3 cards, and I think I just auto-win. Not to mention that this is also 33 on its own. So, GG. That's it for this video. I know the games are pretty short, but that's how it's meant to be played. It's not supposed to grind out a super long game. It's Modern format in a format where there isn't 15-20 hand traps. Enjoy the deck list. Enjoy why I decided to throw all 100 points to Engine, because its consistency is king, and we have ways to crack boards. That's all we have for this one. If you guys enjoy, smash that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell. I got a really big video coming up, and I'll be working on that, and new products coming out, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. And Ishi will see you guys in Pittsburgh.